Welcome to Sports Buds TV. Join in as we explore the latest news and thrilling matchups. Whether you're a diehard or a casual, this is your destination. Let the games begin.
Alrighty, welcome back. This is Sports Buds TV. Today is October 4th, and there's a whole lot going on in sports. So let's get into it. We will pick things off where we always do. Of course, the NFL is king. The NFL is hot right now. We're about a month in now. Of course, we'll recap week 4. So we've got a good 4 weeks in. And let's go ahead and start off, with Thursday night of week 4, where we saw the Detroit Lions taking on the Green Bay Packers. This was an interesting event. It looks like it was getting maybe a little bit closer in the end, but we had the Lions win the contest 34-20. Of course, Jared Goff with a nice touchdown, did have an interception, but David Montgomery with 3 huge touchdowns. Of course, Josh Reynolds with 3 receptions for 69 yards. We'll keep things moving, and we have that early game from across the pond, as we've heard quite a bit, where the Atlanta Falcons took on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And in this contest, it ended up being 7-23, and it really wasn't even that close. Of course, Trevor Lawrence with a huge touchdown. Travis Etienne with 20 carries for 56 yards, but Christian Kirk with 18 receptions for 84 yards to help them seal that win. And we'll move things along where, this was an anticipated game. We have the Miami Dolphins going up and facing the Buffalo Bills. This ended up being a 20-48 contest in the final, in which we saw Josh Allen throw for 4 touchdowns, have a total of 4 touchdowns. Latavius Murray for 32 yards. Not a lot of production there, but they didn't really need it in the end with the final score there. Of course, Stephon Diggs with 3 huge touchdowns there. And of course, we'll keep on moving along. Next, we had the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Carolina Panthers. And this ended up kind of being a bit of a tight score there. In the end, it ended up being 21-13 for Minnesota to win. Kirk Cousins with 2 touchdowns, but also 2 costly interceptions. Alexander Mattison goes for 95 yards. And of course, Justin Jefferson doing Justin Jefferson things with 2 huge touchdowns. Moving on, we had the Denver Broncos facing the Chicago Bears. And what happened here was a bit strange. Chicago looked to be in control. We see that for, Denver goes up first in the first quarter, but of course, then we see Chicago come back with 21 unanswered points. Then in that third quarter, they each score 7 points. And then we see Denver in that fourth quarter take over with 17 unanswered points of their own. A costly turnover there at the end. It ended up being 31-28 for the Broncos to beat the Bears. Moving on, we have the Baltimore Ravens. They took on the Cleveland Browns. This ended up being 28-3 for the Ravens. Lamar Jackson goes for 2 touchdowns, has Gus Edwards 48 yards on the ground, and Mark Andrews with 2 huge touchdowns to help them on their way to get the win. Next up, we had the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Houston Texans. This was somewhat of unexpected. I'm not sure if we should even be saying that. Houston is trying to move along quite well here. They've got a good pair of wins under their belt. It ended up being 6-30, the final score there. And Houston really, in that fourth quarter, just, sealed that win in the end when it looked like Pittsburgh was trying to make a game out of it. What is going on with Pittsburgh? We're not too sure. We'll see how, Houston and their rookie quarterback keep moving along. Definitely impressive. Next up, we have an overtime game. Of course, yours truly's favorite team back there. We had the Los Angeles Rams taking on the Indianapolis Colts. This ended up being 29-23 in overtime. The Rams, first they get off, right off the bat, put up points. And then they don't, you don't hear much for them. Indianapolis with 15 big points in that fourth quarter to help them tie the game, send it to overtime. Matthew Stafford with the touchdown, also a costly interception. Kerryon Williams, though, 103 yards on the ground with 2 huge touchdowns. And of course, Puka Nacua, it means no worries. He goes 9 receptions for 163 yards. You heard that right, 163 yards and 1 touchdown to win the game. So the Rams are moving along, and so are we. The next contest we have here would be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the New Orleans Saints. This ended up being 26-9, in which the Tampa Bay just definitely took a control over that game, and the Saints really couldn't get into it once the Saints blew it out in the fourth quarter. Another overtime game coming up. We saw the Washington Commanders taking on their rivals, the Philadelphia Eagles. This was 31-34 in favor of the Eagles. Jalen Hurts with 2 huge touchdowns, DeAndre Swift a touchdown of his own, and A.J. Brown the recipient of 2 of those touchdowns, and was good for 175 yards. You heard that again, 175 yards on 9 receptions. And we'll keep it moving. We had next the Cincinnati Bengals. They took on the Tennessee Titans. This final score was 3-27 in favor of the Titans. Ryan Tannehill with a huge touchdown, but a costly interception, as we talked about some other QBs in this recap. Derrick Henry, King Henry, 122 yards on the ground and a huge touchdown. And then we see DeAndre Hopkins, got in the mix there with 4 receptions for 63 yards. In the next game, we saw the Las Vegas Raiders take on the Los Angeles Chargers. In this divisional game, the final marker was 17-24. We saw Las Vegas, put up some points there in those final, the third and fourth quarter, but it wouldn't be enough to overcome and take that lead over the Chargers. Next up, I had called this last week. We should finally get a true, if you will, America's team. And I felt like, it'd be good to, finally settle the score between these two debatable, America's teams. But the Cowboys put that argument to rest. They said they're still America's team, and they ended up winning 3-38. Dak Prescott, 261 yards with a nice touchdown. Tony Pollard, 11 carries for 47 yards. And Jake Ferguson, 7 receptions, 77 yards. So interesting. And, we'll move on here. Next, we had the Arizona Cardinals taking on the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers, just keep moving along, much like the Eagles have been. Shout out to the 2 undefeated teams in this final marker. We had 16-35 for the 49ers. Brock Purdy with 283 yards, 1 touchdown. Christian McCaffrey doing Christian McCaffrey things, 106 yards and 3 huge touchdowns for the Niners. Brandon Ayuk got in the mix with 6 receptions for 148 yards. So just monstrous numbers there for receivers, the running backs doing their thing. And let's see here. So then we had an interesting outcome here, what ended up being in that final evening game of the day on Sunday night. Kansas City Chiefs taking on the New York Jets. This ended up being the final score 23-20 and in a close game there. And, the Jets definitely making it tighter than some of us thought. But in the end, the Chiefs win. Patrick Mahomes with a touchdown, 2 interceptions, and almost was 3. I'm not sure what the refs were thinking. Isaiah Pacheco with 115 yards and a huge touchdown. And of course, the man of the hour right now, he's got, arguably the most interesting celebrity at his games. Travis Kelce with 6 receptions for 60 yards. And let's see here. We will wrap things up with the Seahawks at the Giants in a game that I was invested in having at my for my fantasy football. All I had left were the Seahawks. I was down about 18, 19 points. Seahawks come out. They put on a bashing on defense, ended up with 30 points. Thankfully, end up with a win. As far as the Rams and Seahawks go, I'm not too happy to see the Seahawks do well the way they did, but hey, I'll take it in fantasy, right? This ended up being 24-3. The Seahawks beating the New York Giants. We saw Geno Smith with 110 yards, a touchdown. Kenneth Walker III with 79 yards and a touchdown of his own. And Noah Fant with 2 receptions for 163 yards to help seal that win. So that's interesting stuff we have for the first full month, 4 weeks in to this NFL season. Shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles, the San Francisco 49ers. I gotta, make sure that we give you guys the spotlight right here. 4-0 teams, how far can they take it? Once these teams start racking up that undefeated streak, the 72 Dolphins, get pretty interested in it, and so do we, as football fans, as sports fans. So we'll see how that goes. Quickly, MLB playoffs have kicked off. They're in full swing, wild card, all that good stuff. My Yankees, they didn't make it this year. Some other teams didn't make it, like the Red Sox. So, we'll see where this ends up and how those playoffs wind out at the end when it's all said and done. But we'll keep it going here with the NFL. We have week 5 upon us. Tomorrow would be Thursday night. So I've got some picks for you. We see the Bears at the Commanders tomorrow. I'm going to take the Commanders to win, and we'll keep things moving with my picks here for our week 5 in the NFL. Let's see. All right, for week 5, we have the Jaguars at the Bills. Of course, I'll be taking the Bills in this contest, and I'll move along here. The Texans at the Falcons. I'll take the Falcons to win that contest. Then we'll see the Panthers at the Lions. Give me the Lions to win that one. Next, I have the Titans at the Colts. I'll go ahead and take the Colts to win that one. And following along, I have the Giants at the Dolphins. Give me the Dolphins to win that game. What else we've got on the slate? Full slate still, maybe a few teams on a bye right now. We've got the Saints at the Patriots. Give me the Patriots to win that one. We'll see. I mean, that may be tighter than I'm thinking. Ravens at Steelers would be the next contest we have here. Give me the Ravens. Then we have the Bengals at the Cardinals. Go ahead and give me the Bengals to win that one. This is, and I may be biased, right? We got the Eagles at the Rams. The Eagles are undefeated. I'm a Rams fan. I think we've got enough, though. I think we played the Niners close. I think some stuff happened with the Bengals when they got that win out, but give me the Rams to win this one. The Eagles played that close game against the Commanders. So did we the week prior against the Colts. So, we'll see what happens there, but give me the Rams. We'll keep it moving. The Jets at the Broncos. I'm going to go with the Broncos to win this one at home. Then we got the Chiefs at the Vikings. Go ahead and give me the Chiefs to, keep on track. And then this one's an interesting one in the NFC. The Dallas Cowboys at the San Francisco 49ers. A bit of a rivalry, a historic rivalry in the NFL between these two teams. Give me the Niners to keep that undefeated streak going and beat the Cowboys. And then we'll wrap things up on Monday night with the Packers at the Raiders. I'm going to go ahead and say the Raiders. I don't think they've got enough, and I see the Packers taking care of business at the Raiders' house. So that's what I've got for your Week 5 preview. We just want to take some time, remind you all to like, comment, share, subscribe. We're on all platforms. Remember, it's Sports Buds TV. Sports talk, keep it sports talk. That's what we're interested in here. We want y'all to join in the conversation and definitely, by commenting, sharing, that's a great way to do that. So join in whenever you get a chance. We're looking forward to, your interaction and seeing your thoughts, your picks. It's definitely something that we're interested in, knowing what how you're feeling and the way you think things will turn out, when it comes to these NFL picks or, sports picks in general. So, later on, we'll get maybe more into that sports bettings. I know we've got some co-hosts like, y'all have had JKZ on the show before. He's definitely into some of that sports betting. We have another guest by the name of Steve who's definitely interested in that. So I hope to have him on soon and we'll get more into some of that sports bets, some of those odds and picks. And, we want to, compare what you're thinking and, grow this as a community and help each other out to, get ourselves in the best position to, beat the odds, they would say. But, we'll keep the sports talk going. A whole lot going on in sports, right? And we've got the, big fight over the weekend with Canelo versus Charlo. So, we'll go ahead and get into that now. This was interesting. Before we get into that main event, of course, we had the Ramos versus Lubin fight. That was a bit controversial. It ended up going to Lubin. And then we also saw Ugas versus Barrios. And I think I've actually got the order on that wrong. So, pardon that. And then Barrios, taking care of business and getting Ugas out of there. Well, actually going to a decision, but still taking care of business against Ugas. But in that main event, we saw Canelo versus Charlo, an anticipated fight, undisputed versus undisputed. But we ended up finding that it definitely was a bit of a mismatch. It was not the fight that we had hoped. As fans, we were getting when we see two undisputed fighters get in a ring. I won't speak bad. I definitely felt like Charlo. I had actually picked him. I felt like Canelo was, definitely positioned to win this, if you will. Just everything was, him being the bigger fighter, the bigger weight class, Mel coming up the two classes. I thought really everything was stacked for Canelo to pull out that win, but I went with Jamal Charlo, and I hope he put an outing like he did in that second Ferguson fight, or maybe like the second Castano fight. Unfortunately, he had other plans, and it did not work out that way. And Canelo won a unanimous, decision there. Took care of business, retains his titles. What happens next? We don't know. There's a huge fight in November with David Benavides taking on Demetrius Andrade. And, in a perfect world, we'd see the winner of that. I'd say, go on and face Canelo for the undisputed titles at 168, being that, that's the weight class they're all in. And we'd see that, I'd say May, no later than September. But, business is business, boxing is boxing. And I don't know exactly how that will wind up. But, definitely, I'm not going to say disappointed because, it was a fight night. I love a good fight night. This was a big fight night, one of the biggest, the face, of boxing, competing on the card, the main event on the card. So, I'm hearing from family, friends, calls, texts, it's fun for me. A fight night, it's one of the things I enjoy the most. So on that side, I definitely understand the the reason behind it, why it was so big. But as a fan of the sport, wanting to see the sport just, continue to, grow and come back from, where it's been these last few years, I felt like that doesn't really help, get new fans onto the sport, new eyes onto the sport. And, maybe it does, maybe I'm wrong, but I felt like, a more competitive fight outing, I think would do better in that regard. And I feel like fighting someone in your own division would probably do that. And, versus having someone come up from two divisions down. So be as it may, successful as far as economics, it definitely produces for the city of Las Vegas, and, the fans that enjoy, rooting for their fighter are very happy. The country that backs them, are very happy. So good for everybody there. But as a fan of sports, you just want a competitive outing when you're paying your hard-earned money for a pay-per-view. So, with that said, boxing continues, and this weekend we have a slate of boxing going on. We will see Wood versus Worthington, so they'll get it on, and definitely answer some questions there. Harper's on that card. I believe Terry Harper's on that card also. She's putting on her title, so I believe that's a unification bout. Looking forward to that as well. And of course, we see Zurdo Ramirez, who will be taking on Joe Smith Jr. And these two have maybe taken a step back after their last outings, but now they face each other to see what's going to go on in their career. Zurdo going up in this case into the light heavyweight division. So there's some questions that we hope to get answered here. Joe bouncing back from that last outing that he had, and definitely looking forward to, getting some of those questions answered on Saturday. So as far as boxing goes, definitely, looking forward to the Ramirez versus Smith fight, the Wood versus Worthington fight, and of course it is Harper versus Cecilia Berkunis. And yeah, this is definitely a title fight. We'll be getting this Saturday between Wood and Worthington, and of course Harper and Berkunis. So looking forward to those bouts, and of course the Ramirez versus Smith, which is an interesting matchup there that I can't wait to see what it ends up, what the final result ends up being there. So interesting things going on in sports. This is a bit of a short show compared to what we've had lately, but I just wanted to make sure that we are keeping up to date. I want to hear from you, like we've said. Follow us on all those platforms. Again, this is Sports Buds TV. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and let us know, your thoughts, your teams, who you're rooting for, your fighters, who you're rooting for. We want to, hear more from all of you. So, yeah, make sure you follow us. This is all about sports talk, and we'll go ahead and wrap this episode for today. Y'all have a good one. Be good.
Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed the latest episode. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow. See you on the next one.